Welcome everybody to this edition of Attention Talk Video. I'm your host, ADHD and Attention Coach Jeff Copper, and today I'm here with Dr. Sharon Saline, and I'm springing this one on her. We did a radio interview that was pretty fun. The best part about what I do is I interview experts, and all of a sudden they put stuff in a way that really makes a lot of sense. And we were talking about worry and anxiety. And you were talking about worry, and anxiety is the physical manifestation of that worry. And I've already done some videos on this. You got different pieces, but this was all put together by this one. So I talk about working memory is sometimes, let's say there's 15 things you got to keep up with, and you can only keep 5 of those in your mind at a given time. And so let's number them. They're 1 through 15. Right. So you have 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you think of 10, you forget 2. You think of 13, you forget 4. Then you think of 8, and you forget 1.
Oh my God, I'm already so confused.
Then you think of 2, and you forget 8. The point really is are you starting to see your brain is churning around, because it'll circle back, and you'll remember numbers that you forgot. And your working memory struggling with this. Oh my God, this sounds a lot like worry to me, because you're worried about what you're not remembering, forgetting.
Which happens all the time for kids and adults with ADHD.
And that manifests as anxiety and then emotion that paralyzes you when it's all said and done. And it's funny because I do a lot of coaching, like I walk through this, and the people that can identify is, okay, now that you understand it, let's get rid of the emotion. Let's focus on the working memory, because if you could write the stuff down, then you wouldn't have to churn about it, which you wouldn't have it's funny that kind of flow.
But that's a basic intervention for people with anxiety, is you write down your worries. And this is great before you go to bed. Everything that you want to make sure that you remember for the next day, write them down on a piece of paper, put it next to your bedside, and then you can go to sleep, because you've emptied out the things that are kind of going to float around and irritate you and keep you awake, and you know that in the morning it's there. That's a very useful tool, particularly for people with ADHD, because they worry about what they can't remember. And instead of worrying about what you can't remember, when something's in your mind, write it down. Write it on your phone. Yep. If you don't like to write, use the voice memo. But get it out of your head and down somewhere else so that you can refer back to it.
And so she and I have done some other interviews about what works for some people is different. So others is just, you have the emotion, let's sit down and put this thing together. I find sometimes if I can connect the dots, 1 + 2, but all the way down to the end of it, you go, oh, now when we sit there and say it's really important that you sit down and do it, you get the cause and effectal relationship, and for some it will help them override, they'll downplay the emotion and actually put the stuff down because they get the why side. Other people, they're not why people, and that's not going to make any sense for them. It's just really kind of putting the thing down. But we end up in the same place, and I have to give it to you because I've used so much in my work. Anxiety is that physical manifestation of worry, which really makes a lot of sense. And when you put it in those terms, if you're feeling the anxiety, if you focus on the anxiety, you're focusing on the wrong thing.
Right.
You got to get upstream. If the Mississippi's being polluted in St. Louis, you don't want to be cleaning up in New Orleans because you're wasting your time. You got to go up to the source.
Exactly. And so the thing is, it's the thinking that often creates the worry, and when the worry builds, it then adds in feeling, and then you're in a physiological anxiety response, which is a panic attack, or a form of really poisonous stress. You're worried about something you have no control over,
and this cascades into sleep issues, sleep deprivation, which negatively affects. It's just, you can begin to see this little thing that's all of a sudden cascades, and you're in the soup.
So what we want to do is actually, this is again related to self-observation. We want to notice the worry thought, and we want to come up with some counter statements. Instead of a worry thought, ugh, I have this presentation to give, it's going to bomb. You could say, I'm nervous about my presentation, but the last presentation I gave went actually pretty well, so I know how to do it. And if it doesn't go well, I'll figure it out then.
I want to pull this together because we don't like the videos to be too long, but at the end of the day, I hope that for some of you, this logical thing, oh my gosh, I now get why that stuff works behind it, and thanks to you for the radio, because I love the worry physical manifestation. Anyway, so thank you so much for coming on the show.
You're welcome. Always a pleasure to be here. Thanks.
Hope you enjoyed this. Take care.